As of January 1st, Croatia will join the Eurozone and the Schengen zone, eliminating controls along its borders with its EU neighbors.
Myanmar's ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been jailed for another 7 years after a military-controlled court finds her guilty of corruption. Vladimir Putin invites China's president to Moscow in what would be a public show of solidarity from Beijing amid Russia's war in Ukraine.
A new year, a new currency in Croatia. As of January 1st, the country will become the 20th EU member state to use the euro. More than half the country's ATMs have been taken offline to prepare them for dispensing euros. The Croatian kuna and the euro will then coexist in the nation's pockets for a short transitional period of just 14 days.
It's good to have some cash on you because the banking system will be transitioning over the weekend. Consequently, neither cards nor internet banking will be operational, so it's good to have some cash just in case. On January the 2nd, everything should be functioning normally.
At the same time, Croatia will also join the Schengen zone, allowing travelers to cross its borders with its EU neighbors without any control. This will be the first time the zone has expanded in 11 years. But the move could also mean a heightening of security along Croatia's borders with its non-EU neighbors, such as Bosnia and Serbia, as entering Croatia will soon give people access to all other Schengen members.
As Croatia readies itself to join the Schengen area, preparations are underway to remove all crossing points along its shared border with Hungary. Queues of 2 to 3 hours were not uncommon over the summer at this border crossing point in Lettonia. From 2023, such disruptions will be a thing of the past. The Mur River separates Hungary and Croatia along much of the border region. Hungary's temporary border barrier, installed in 2015 in response to the migration crisis, must now be removed. Police will dismantle wire mesh and high fencing at other sections of the border early next year. But some have expressed concern about these changes.
It's easy. You see, if you come to travel or to visit a family member and you don't have to show anything, you just cross and it is done. You're here quickly. But there are people who take advantage of these opportunities.
Lettonia used to be an important stopover for travellers. This provided a livelihood for many of the town's residents. But recently, the situation here changed.
Several locals said that traffic through the town had already decreased with the construction of the motorway, and they think the situation will be even worse after Croatia's accession to Schengen. But we also met a restaurant owner who hopes that more foreigners will come if they don't have to show their ID at the border anymore.
Controversial online influencer Andrew Tate has been arrested during a raid by police in Romania. Tate's brother Tristan and 2 Romanian citizens were also detained as part of an investigation into suspected human trafficking, organised crime and rape. The British national and former kickboxer has previously been banned from various social media platforms for his controversial statements and hate speech. Video footage from the police raid shows several blurred-out sports cars, wads of cash and a handgun. Despite widespread criticism, Tate's portrayal of an ultra-masculine and luxurious lifestyle has made him a popular figure among some young people.
In the last of a long list of closed trials that have spanned over a year, a military-controlled court in Myanmar has sentenced ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi to an extra 7 years in jail. She was found guilty on 5 charges of corruption relating to the misuse of state funds for the purchase and lease of a helicopter. The Nobel Peace Laureate has been imprisoned ever since she was forcibly removed as the country's state councillor at the start of the military coup in February last year. Often in solitary confinement, she was charged with multiple crimes that had already racked up to more than 26 years of sentencing. Aung San Suu Kyi's legal team has repeatedly argued she is not guilty. Rights groups have long claimed the array of charges are fabricated to keep the 77-year-old beloved leader detained.
Добрый день, уважаемые
Russian and Chinese leaders have spoken of their countries' deepening strategic ties at an end-of-year meeting on state TV. Amid international isolation and sanctions over Russia's invasion of Ukraine, President Vladimir Putin has increasingly turned to China for support. In particular, he's seeking military cooperation.
And of course, military cooperation, which contributes to ensuring the security of our countries and maintaining stability in key regions, occupies a special place in the entire range of Russian-Chinese cooperation and our relations. We aim to strengthen cooperation between the armed forces of Russia and China.
Putin has also invited President Xi to visit Moscow next year. For his part, the Chinese leader talked of a new era of bilateral relations.
Under our joint leadership, China-Russia comprehensive partnership and strategic interaction on the new era is showing maturity and resilience. The internal potential and special values of bilateral cooperation are increasingly making themselves felt. A number of joint projects in priority sectors are being steadily implemented.
The two countries have undertaken joint naval exercises, but Beijing has not committed any military aid for the Kremlin's war in Ukraine. China has echoed some of Putin's anti-Western rhetoric, but analysts say it's wary of getting caught up in any international sanctions against countries seen as supporting Russia's invasion.
90% of the Ukrainian city of Lviv was left without power on Thursday after yet another wave of Russian missile strikes. Air raid sirens sounded over Kyiv again on Thursday night as residents were ordered to shelter from an attack by drones. Hours earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Moscow is driving itself into a dead end. As of this evening, there are power outages in most regions of Ukraine, he said. It is especially difficult in Kyiv and Lviv, Odessa, Kherson, Vinnytsia and Transcarpathia. While 69 Russian rockets targeted energy facilities, Zelensky says the Ukrainian armed forces shot down 54 missiles and overnight destroyed 11 drones. 18 residential buildings were destroyed across the country. In Kyiv alone, 3 private houses were turned to rubble. Moving north, Russia's ally Belarus claims to have shot down an S-300 air defence missile launched from Ukraine's territory. Authorities in Minsk summoned Ukraine's ambassador and have demanded an immediate investigation. If it happens again, Minsk says there could be catastrophic consequences.
Italy has made COVID tests mandatory for all airline passengers arriving from China. The first tests inside Rome's Fiumicino airport have been taken after people arrived on a flight from eastern China. In Milan, more than 50% of arrivals have tested positive for the virus in recent days. Italy has called for EU rules on arrivals from China where COVID restrictions were scrapped despite a surge in cases. But health officials say the situation there is not likely to affect the bloc.
A nosedive at some 2,700 metres over the Italian Dolomites. En route to Belluno from the Italian city of Trento, 22-year-old pilot Silvia De Bon was forced to make a crash landing on Thursday after her engine stalled in her Piper Light aircraft high above the snow-capped mountains. Thanks to some swift manoeuvres, both Silvia and the 2 passengers on board, her brother and his girlfriend, survived. All 3 managed to get out of the cockpit and alerted the authorities before mountain rescue teams raced to the scene.
In a year which has seen an increase in the killing of journalists in the course of their work, Reporters Without Borders has released figures showing 1,668 have died in violence over the past 2 decades. The war in Ukraine is the main cause of the upturn in 2022, with 8 journalists' deaths since Russia invaded. This year, 57 have lost their lives worldwide, while 49 have been reported as missing. The NGO points to 2012 and 2013 as being the deadliest years for journalists on reporting missions. The war in Syria was the main factor in those years. Russia has been Europe's most dangerous country, with targeted killings of reporters such as Kremlin critic Anne Politkovskaya. France also features near the top of Europe's perilous nation list due to the one-off attack on the Charlie Hebdo magazine in 2015, which killed 12 people.